we'll get going. So welcome everyone. So welcome to this evening's webinar. So delighted to host it. So my name is Jamie Goggins. So I'm the Professor of Civil Engineering here in the National University of Ireland, Galway, and member of Engineers Ireland West Region Committee. So just this evening, I'm stepping in for my colleague, Dr. Magdalena Hadjikevich. She's chairperson of the West Region of Engineers Ireland, and she's passed on her apologies for not being able to attend, which is obviously understandable because she's on well-deserved annual leave this week. So this evening's webinar is on the strong economy supported by enterprise, innovation and skills, and it forms part of the Engineers Ireland Engineering National Development CPD series. So it's, as most people know, we've Project Ireland 2040, that's the government's long-term strategy that makes to make Ireland a better country for all and to build a more resilient and sustainable future. So the strategy is going to guide national, regional and local planning and investment decisions in Ireland over the next 2 decades. And it's designed to cater for an expected population increase of 1 million people or so in Ireland. Furthermore, it's ensure the alignment of investment plans with the state and national strategy outcomes for 2040, and that's to support business and communities across Ireland to realising their potential. So with the growth population and the associated increased demand for jobs, obviously we need new homes, cultural and societal amenities, enhanced regional connectivity and improved environmental sustainability. So Ireland requires innovative engineering solutions to tackle these challenges. So we come up with the idea of the Engineering National Development CPD series, and it marks the recent publication of the latest National Development Plan. And it aims to showcase and promote new ideas for engineering practice across all sectors aligned with the Project Ireland 2040 strategy. So it's a mixture of in-person and online events under the themes of the national strategic outcomes, with the focus of this evening's webinar being a strong economy supported by enterprise, innovation and skills. So you'll see from the series that each of the different nights or each of the different events focus on a different chapter within the National Development Plan. So we're absolutely delighted to have 4 fantastic speakers join us this evening, each of whom I'll introduce individually before their talk. So we're very thankful to each of them for giving up their time to prepare for and attend this evening's event. The webinars will be recorded, so it'll be available afterwards on the Engineers Ireland website. We'll stop the recording after the formal presentations. During the presentations, you can post the questions in the Q&A box on Zoom, and I'll direct those questions at our speakers after all presentations have been delivered. So I suppose without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first speaker. So absolutely delighted to introduce our first speaker, which is PJ Rodden. So PJ is well known to many people, especially in the engineering sector, but beyond. So he's a national leader in delivering transformation and innovation across various infrastructure sectors with implementation over the more than 35 years. He's currently chairman of the Construction Sector Innovation and Digital Adaptation at the Department of Public Expenditure and Reform. So it's a construction sector group, as well as director of CODEMA, which is Dublin Energy Agency. And through his consultancy company provides management consulting and leadership development. He's a chartered engineer and fellow of Engineers Ireland, having served as the president of Engineers Ireland from 2011 to 2012. He's recently appointed as one of the 5 external members of Project Ireland 2040 Delivery Board, which was set up in 2018 to assist in the implementation of the National Development Plan and the National Planning Framework. So it's very fitting that we have PJ here this evening to give the first talk, and PJ is going to present on the general landscape of innovation in the construction sector. So over to you, PJ.
Thank you very much, Jamie. Okay, good evening, everybody, and it's nice to be in Galway, even virtually, in this indifferent weather that we're having at the moment. I know time is of the essence, so I'll get going on this 15, 20 minutes. The National Planning Framework, as Jamie explained, is part of Project Ireland 2040 to accommodate an extra 1 million people on the island. And as you know, we're at 5 million, so it's going to accommodate 6 million. That means building the housing, accommodation in terms of hospitals, schools, and all of the other infrastructure that's required in terms of utilities and so on, to provide for that extra population. The National Planning Framework is very strong in looking for compact development, as you know, concentrating on the 5 major cities, but also trying to remove the bias that currently exists in Dublin and spreading it evenly among the other major cities, including Galway. The National Development Plan is designed to create and support national strategic options and outcomes. And the particular one that I'm concentrating this evening is option 5 there, to build a strong economy supported by enterprise, innovation and skills, very much speaking into the whole engineering frame of things. And also, I suppose, action 8, I think it is, transition to a low carbon economy as well. So next slide, please, Alex.
Sorry, Peter.
Sorry, Alex.
Okay,
no problem.
yeah.
No problem. Okay, so I've explained what Project Ireland 2040 is, but who and what is the construction sector group? It was set up in 2018 by the government, by the then Taoiseach, and it is a regular and open dialogue between the government departments and industry. Industry consisting of, contractors, but also consultants and all of the various players that help to build modern Ireland. You can see the members of the construction sector group are mostly the professional bodies, together with Office of Government Procurement, OPW, the HSC, and the spending departments, main spending departments being, housing, education, health, communications, business, and public expenditure is the overall treasury for the government departments, as you know, and under the overall supervision of the Taoiseach. The CSG, I got involved in the CSG in 2020, September 2020. It was set up a couple of years before that. But before I got involved, the CSG and the Department of Public Expenditure decided to set up a report on the economic analysis of productivity in the Irish construction sector. They needed to benchmark where we were as a country in terms of productivity. And if we move on to the next slide, we'd see that we weren't faring too well in terms of productivity. These are 2018 figures, but Ireland was being compared per value added per hour of the average construction worker, 22.30 in Ireland. In Belgium, it's double that, and varying degrees of multiples, less than 1, less than 2, with respect to the UK. Are much better than us, but somewhat ahead of us. But the Benelux countries way ahead, and we know Scandinavia is also in that frame. Next slide, please, Alec. So, what does the KPMG report say? Well, mostly more weaknesses than strengths. I'm not going to go through all of these, but the two I'm going to concentrate on are the under execution stage, underinvestment in technology and innovation, and underutilization of off-site construction, otherwise known as modern methods of construction. There are other barriers as well, such as our fragmented system in the construction industry. Believe it or not, there are 15 large contractors, but apart from those 15 large contractors, 95% of the construction industry in Ireland are SMEs, and the vast majority of those have less than 10 employees. So it's quite a challenge in Ireland that doesn't exist elsewhere. That's not an excuse, but it is an issue that we have to bear in mind, and a metric that we're looking at going forward. The SMEs are going to have to be brought through the process very much on a bottom-up basis, which traditionally we were not doing in this country. It was more a top-down from government agencies and public clients and so on. Moving on to the next slide, please. This is the setup of the construction sector group, particularly the subgroup on innovation and digital adoption, which I chair. And there are 7 priority actions. Well, there were 7 priority actions. There are now 2 cross-cutting actions with respect to housing and sustainability that I'll come to in a minute. But just to say that this is a governance system set up by government, and every group has an oversight forum. And I chair the subgroup. I also chair the action leaders group of the coloured boxes below that, and I meet both groups once a month or so. And then the CSG, the full CSG of government secretary generals and the construction industry, Caroline Spillane representing Engineers Ireland, and similarly with RII and ACEI. They meet every 3 months, and I report to them. Well, I report to the CSG, but I report directly to the Secretary General of the Department of Public Expenditure and Reform, who is currently David Maloney, previously Robert Watt, and that's who appointed me. Moving on, you'll see that there on the graphic there before it moved, and we won't go back to it. There are 3 support groups: one in sustainability, one in housing, and one with respect to SMEs, playing to the problems we have and how we best address them. So the innovation project in progress, it started in September 2020. It's moving well. The 3 main elements of it are, going back to that graphic, activities 3, 4, and 7. 3 is to build a new modern methods of construction facility. 4 is to build a construction technology centre by Enterprise Ireland, and 7 is to build a digital build project, which is the extension of BIM, not just from the current 3D, but onto the 7D. Just to show you where we're at in terms of progress, Housing for All remains a priority cross-cutting action. I should say this came at us last September, a year into our project, and we hadn't provided for it, and we hadn't provided for the priority of housing. But as you know, it's a principal political priority at the moment, and therefore it became our priority, and it landed on our desk. And we're having to use modern methods of construction and the construction technology centre and the Build Digital project to prioritise in the first instance on housing, but on the infrastructure, which is the National Development Plan, a whole 165 billion, whereas housing is 40 billion. So if you like, this is more about infrastructure than housing, but the early priority time-wise is on housing. We want to show a critical importance on standards and training. As you know, we have various legacy problems in the country, mica, pyrites, fire issues in Dublin. We can't build a new generation construction unless we deal in the first instance, and certainly in parallel, with our legacy issues. So there's a definite gap on emerging technologies, and our standards body, even NSAI, all of these have got to be enhanced, as we have been enhanced ourselves to build this new challenge of at least 33,000 houses per annum. And it's not just houses, because there is a supply problem we know about, but it's not supply only. In fact, there is plenty of supply, not enough, but a lot of supply. But affordable supply is the new focus now. And there's a separate project on the cost affordability, or the whole issue, and a separate group of people that I recently commissioned to do that. It'll take about 6 months to do. But that's one gap with respect to housing. Modern methods of construction, that's modular, off-site construction, retrofitting, and so on. It's not something that traditionally took place in civil engineering, except more recently in terms of commercial buildings and modular design. It's very much driven by the lack of wet trades. The days of the bricks and blocks are on the way out, because simply aren't enough apprentices and trades, but I'll come back to that. That has to be increased as well. But that's driving modern methods of construction, so that instead of a wall on the side of a house, it's now a frame, be it steel or timber or whatever, and you infill that with insulation and so on. Building information modelling, recent Irish index annex approved and published. Sustainability of building materials, this is a big issue for us. The circular economy, which I'll come back to later. Low carbon cement, we've been using that in some projects for 10 years now. I don't see why it can't be extended further. Cross-laminated timber, they're building 5 up to 9, 10 stories in Scandinavia using cross-laminated timber, not a meter of concrete in sight. Insulation is a particular problem. It's very high in carbon in the same way concrete is. So we set up a sustainability group which I'll come back to later on some of their work, which is very cross-cutting, and it has members from Engineers Ireland, ACEI, and all of the professional bodies doing tremendous work. It's in fact, that particular activity has been overseen by the architects, while the engineers are looking after modern methods of construction. I have about 100 people on the team. They're sponsored by their companies, and I haven't lost one of them in 18 months. That's a fact, because it's interesting, challenging work, and you know, they are being paid by their employers, and we're very grateful to them for that fact. Build Digital project is up and running. In fact, if you look at LinkedIn today, the new project lead, Robert Moore, has been appointed, and a new chairman of the steering group representing industry, Pat Lucy, ex-TISC. That project will run now for 5 years, partly funded by the Department of Public Expenditure and Reform and partly funded by industry. Move to the next slide, please, Alec. Design of the Construction Technology Centre is ongoing, following a detailed description of needs report by EY Consultants for Enterprise Ireland, and that's a work in progress. Modern Methods of Construction report has just finished, published last month, and it will be advanced in terms of feasibility and going to tendering later this year and next year. The digitization of the planning application system is in train, and we wish to get rid of the 6 hard copies of applications, particularly for the larger projects. It's not as simple as it might seem, but we're moving to a national platform, and each county next year will move county by county to that platform. Unfortunately, it's not obligatory or mandatory. Some people don't have the digital systems to do that. So there'll be a transition period moving from hard copy to the new digital system by the 31 local authorities. Our strategic communications are informed by frequent webinars, and we have a LinkedIn page, which we won't do now, but if you click onto that, you'll see the homepage has New Grange, which is 3,000 years old, and yet, you know, there was no BIM in those days, and the light comes into that chamber every December. So, I mean, we're standing on the shoulders of giants, people in construction, is what I say to the groups that I meet. But we need to see a step change in construction output, and the 3 main pillars of our project are digitization, leading to greater productivity and sustainability. And those 3 now are being progressed with equal merit. Digitization, we push the possibility of a BIM mandate to be introduced in mid-decade into the National Development Plan. We felt that we had to give that signal to the industry, and I'll come back to that, and you may have questions with regard to that mandate. Could we move on, please, Alec, to the next one? This is typical of the output from the sustainability group. You know, where are the 3 biggest challenges with regard to sustainability in Irish construction that could benefit from digitization to deliver the best practice and achieve the ambition that we have for 2040? Well, the three biggest ambitions, in fact, were affordable retrofit, and that shouldn't come as any surprise. Decarbonisation of materials and construction activity. And the third one is the whole area of embedding circular economy into waste management. And I'll come back to that in more detail in a minute. Next slide, please. Yeah, circular economy in construction. There's a significant focus now needed on this. This had a significant focus 20 years ago. In fact, I was a member of the Construction Demolition Waste Council that saw some success in creating recycling facilities for construction C&D waste. Of course, as many of you know, the largest by far C&D waste is soil and stone, and that has no place to go really unless it's reused on that site or moved elsewhere, and up to now it needed an EPA license to move that waste onto the public road and onto another site. It has relative volumes far exceeding the amount of waste generated in houses and commercial premises. For instance, municipal waste is 3 tons of waste per annum, C&D waste at the moment is 8.8 million tons and rising. I know in 2007 it was 18 million tons. It created such a problem in some of the cities that I know certainly in Dublin, they had to add the word skip to vehicle to prevent illegal parking. And that's how serious the problem was. And it's coming back because some form, hopefully a more sustainable form of the Celtic Tiger is on the way back. Future use of MMC and BIM will serve to reduce our construction waste by 40 to 50%. That may come as a surprise, but when you think of it, everything will be custom made to, you know, the BIM drawings and only delivered in the quantities required. And just-in-time management and lean construction methods to be used. So it's going to create a revolution in construction, which we badly need because we currently don't have the skills and the numbers to build the National Development Plan. And we're separately looking at that. That's priority action 5. Legislation is coming down the track this year on the circular economy, which will, you know, legislate away from the current linear economy and possibly apply an aggregate levy as a disincentive to not reusing materials in construction. Next slide, please. And coming close to the end. This is the recently revised construction sector group innovation digital adoption team. And this is the group I chair. It contains, as you can see, the 17 government departments there, and you know, Engineers Ireland, RIAI, CIF, and so on. This meets every month, and we have a very packed agenda, and we're making very, very substantial progress. There's an annual report published by the Department of Public Expenditure called Innovation, Building Innovation, and you can consult that on Google to see the progress that we're making. Each of the 7 actions are there, and you'll see housing for all and sustainability are now cross-cutting actions across the 7. Action 1 is research. That's complete, and its outcome will go into the new Technology Innovation Centre, which will be a consortium of universities who are currently tendering for that project. That's action 4. Action 2 is looking at sustainability funding and other funding, disruptive technology funding, to help us on our journey of reform and construction. Action 3 is the modern method of construction. Action 4 is the technology centre, which is currently being tendered. Action 5 is building up the manpower, the digital skill net, and human capital that's required to build Project Ireland 2040. Action 6, priority action 6, is digitizing the planning application system, and 7 is the Build Digital, the BIM work, which is starting its 5-year journey currently. Okay, next slide. And this is a graphic that just shows the interdependencies between each of the 7 actions. You know, they're all interlinked and they all feed off each other. And together, those 7 actions create a new, the makings of a new construction ecosystem that should drive innovation, digital adoption across the industry, which won't happen overnight, but we're hoping the next 5 to 10 years we'll get there, certainly by 2030. And that's why we need a BIM mandate by 2025, I would say. All right, I think the final slide then is probably the one I want to spend most time on, and that is to give you the central messages that I am bringing tonight. And that is, number 1, that Irish construction needs to modernize. We have to leave traditional methods of construction behind, and we cannot stand still. We have to be dynamic. We need to move to a more digital and sustainable model. Most countries in Europe have done this ahead of us, including the UK. We don't want to be left behind. We have to adopt modern methods of construction. It is the way forward. You saw the impact it has on waste generation on sites earlier. Sustainability needs to be embedded in MMC. Now, when I got the KPMG report, it was very low on sustainability, and we embedded it in before we started so that we wouldn't have to go back and retrofit it. Building information modeling needs to advance to include beyond 3D. 3D just ensures that the windows and doors and everything fit, but we need to get into programming 4D, 5D cost control, 6D embedded carbon, and the OGP are going to use the 6D BIM to assess tenders in terms of carbon and sustainability. So watch that space. And asset management, as you know, the cost of projects is 20% design and build, and it's 80% running it. Asset management in terms of operational carbon with energy and so on. And that completes my presentation. Thank you very much for listening. And I'll be happy to answer questions later. Thank you.
Thank you very much, PJ. It's very good presentation. Good to set the scene, put it in perspective. I suppose it's a huge challenge. Fantastic. You've moved things on. You and the group a lot. The 100 people there in the last couple of years or the last few years. So it's great to see action and great to see things happening. Okay, so I'm sure we'll have lots of questions for you at the end. So we'll move swiftly on to our next speaker then. In there. So as I said, we have 4 speakers tonight. So our next speaker is Claudia Hunsaker. So Claudia works with Novatech in Innofor. She has 20 years of experience in the management of international collaboration, research projects and open innovation. So she's worked in numerous places, world-leading research establishments like ETH Zurich in Switzerland, Technali in Spain. She's also worked for the Consulate General in the USA. But since 2014, she's been working with Novatech and Innofor, which is a French Institute for Energy Transition in the construction sector. And she's project manager there of a lot of European projects, but one that she's going to, I think, concentrate on tonight is Meta Building and Meta Building Labs. Meta Building is dedicated to providing innovative supports to SMEs and helping to establish the innovation ecosystems in different European countries, whereas Meta Building Labs creates an open innovation testbed and support for testing and demonstration of technologies for building envelope. So we'll feed in nicely to some actions that PJ has discussed there earlier on. But Claudia has worked on lots of European projects in there in the past. I've had the privilege of working with her on several European projects, and was fortunate to spend some time with her and the team in France on the sabbatical. So this evening, Claudia is going to give us her insights into their experience of bringing together a range of stakeholders across Europe to deliver innovation solutions to support a strong green economy. So over to you, Claudia.
Thank you, Jamie. Thanks for inviting me. After having listened to PJ's presentation, I know now why you invited me, and thanks for giving me the chance to introduce Meta Building and Meta Building Labs. I will share my screen. Let's see. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, just put into presentation mode. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Perfect.
You see already my whole presentation, but anyway, backwards. So yeah, nice to be here. Thank you. I will present you Meta Building and Meta Building Labs. They are 2 sister projects, both of them led by Novatech as a coordinator. So first of all, who is Novatech? Can you see the full screen? Because I don't know, I see here also a sign. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we're full screen. We're on your first slide.
Okay, very good. So Novatech is all focused on open innovation for sustainable buildings. This is our kind of lemma. That's what we are going for. We are who we are. We are an RTO, Research and Technology Organization, similar to Fraunhofer, Technalia, VTT, whomever you might know, but just much, much smaller. We are also the French Institute for the Energy and Environmental Transfer of the Construction Sector. Actually, we have got a label for taking care of this transfer together with other actors. But we are the leading driver in this journey towards more energy and environmental friendly construction sector. Some key numbers: we have been established only, I would say, in 2004, but we have grown a lot since then. We have a very specific legal form. We are an LTD, but in the form of a cooperative company of collective interest. I don't know if this exists in Ireland, but it's a very special form, and we have chosen it for a good reason, which you will see afterwards. Because we want to integrate the different actors of the different innovation actors, especially of the construction sectors, as part of our company. We are non-profit and have a capital of 1 million euros and 70 shareholders. One specificity is as well that not only the different types of actors are shareholders, but also a lot of our staff members. So it's really another approach on how to do innovation. Right now we are 63 employees, so not very big, still not very big, but I think we are doing quite well, as you will see later on. So as I have said, unfortunately this is in French and I couldn't change it, but I will explain it to you. Our legal form was chosen to actually be able to integrate our ecosystem, which are our shareholders, which are in different, we call them colleges, but they are in different entities with different votes. So all our clients and collaborators are represented in our structure. But besides that, we also integrate SMEs that maybe not are shareholders in the company, but still are belonging to our ecosystem. The clusters, especially regional clusters, and we have a special thing that is called pôle de compétitivité, so competitivity poles in France. Then our R&D partners, these could be other RTOs or universities or universities. And we have even joint teams with 2 universities that are very close to us that collaborate very directly with us, and we have joint programs for innovation. And finally, an endowment fund that is helping to push forward innovation in France together with important companies. So you see, we include the national innovation actors and experts in sustainable construction and refurbishment that share the same ambition in our ecosystem, being part of the institution itself by being a shareholder, or also being linked to us through other means. We have actually a very important European success, I would say, already since Framework Program 7, but up to now. In total, we have received ourselves 11.5 million euros in 20 projects. We have collaborated with 353 partners from 38 countries. And which of NUI Galway, we are in collaboration with NUI Galway since 2014 and have had the honor to collaborate in 5 different projects. 8 of these 20 projects actually are led by Novatech, coordinated by Novatech. 2 of them are Meta Building Labs and Meta Building, which are the topic of today. So what are Meta Building and Meta Building Labs? They are 2 H2020 projects, but they share one ecosystem. They share as well one digital platform, we see that later, and they also have one open innovation testbed, which is developed in Meta Building Labs, where NUI Galway is also part of this project and will be part of the open innovation testbed. And furthermore, we also have some funding for SMEs. We heard PJ, sorry, that this is something very important. Not only in Ireland, SMEs are the majority of the sector. Also in most of the other European countries, SMEs are over 90% or even sometimes 99% of the sector. So they are very important, and you will see as well that they are important in our projects. So what's the Meta Building project focusing about? Here it's also a very good connection, I would say, to what PJ was presenting before. What we try to do in Meta Building is actually bringing innovation to the construction sector through collaboration with other, as we think, more innovative sector. which are additive manufacturing, nature-based solution, circularity and recycling, and the digital industry, or ICT in general. This project is financed by InnoSup, so it's an innovation support project which aims at supporting SMEs in doing innovation and engaging in innovation. We do this through cascade funding. This means the project distributes money to SMEs that are interested in engaging in innovation. The next call will open on March 1st. We have 6 target countries. Ireland is not one of them, but this call is focusing on collaborative projects. So SMEs, also Irish ones that want to participate in this, they can do that if they collaborate with another SMEs of one of the target countries. Then we have Meta Building Labs, which is the sister project. As we said, or I said, it's focusing on the same ecosystem, but it goes further and adds different countries, and Ireland as one of them. And it aims in particular at creating an open innovation test bed, which is a network of testing facilities. NUI Galway is part of it, as I said, that are engaging in the testing of components for building envelopes, and not only, but this is the main focus. Now, what these 2 projects are doing as well is they try to set up ecosystems. They try to do that on regional level, a national level, but also at European level. Why is this so important? Because many countries, France is one of them, and I will focus on the example of France. Actually, we don't have a real ecosystem going on in France on national level. We have more competition and not really cooperation, and not even co-opetition. We are far from that, and this is something that makes us lacking behind if we compare ourselves to other countries. This is also the goal of Meta Building and Meta Building Labs, to create in these 13 countries national ecosystems. Why should we do that? Because a lot of us are still in closed innovation. Years ago, Chess Pro, I think it was in 2007, was talking about open innovation. So opening the companies and entities up to bring in innovation from outside. Because we all know that not only in our institutions, we have the brightest minds, in others have bright minds too. So we have to collaborate and to profit of this. So where we want to go actually in these 2 projects is towards an innovation network ecosystem, where we link all different partners. How did we do that? We did a mapping of the different countries. Magda, that you know very well, she did this for Ireland. So I don't show it here, but if you're interested, you can ask her. And where we list all sorts of important actors. This is just a few actors you see as example. I saw for France, we have, for example, a list of over 500 actors that we have listed and contacted. And then we think that the basically most important roles, or one of the most important roles, is the one of regional clusters, which we have listed as well. Why are they so important? Because they are the ones that bring together SMEs and inform them about innovation. As an example, you can see here Odeis, which is actually our regional construction technology cluster, which is only Odeis alone is bringing together 224 SMEs. And so the regional clusters in our meta clustering strategies, they are basically the door opener to reach out to SMEs and try to convince them to do innovation and help them to do innovation. What is not this meta clustering thing? We want to, these clusters, they don't really work together in France, a little, but very few. So we try to bring them together, and especially to try to make them work together and collaborate together. But this is not enough. We have to add other layers. Here, as an example, we have put the layer of RTOs. There are some examples, not all of them. Some of them much more known than ourselves, Novatech, but anyway. Of course, here it's not only about RTOs. I showed the RTOs, but it's also universities, so that we have to integrate. So, but you don't see them here on this slide. And they need to work with clusters and SMEs in their clusters. To this picture, we have to add companies. Our endowment fund is bringing together a lot of big players. You can see here, for example, Point P. You can see Knauf. You can see Placo. You can see, a lot of big companies that are in this in this endowment fund that aims at promoting innovation and going together, like Schneider as well, of going together actually to do innovation. Although they are competitors in the market, sometimes they have decided to innovate together in this endowment fund. And finally, we have to link all these actors up. Seems like a big mess, but it's all is even getting more complicated. Or now we want to go one step above, because this is only the national level. But what we also want to achieve in this project is an integration of this national, hopefully once active ecosystem with the ECTP, the European Construction Technology Platform. Well, our role model a little in this is Petec. Petec is the Spanish platform, technology platform of construction, which are driving innovation a lot. We can also see in the Meta Building project that, for example, thanks to their well-functioning ecosystem, their SMEs are much more performant towards the calls we have. Nearly half of them are Spanish SMEs, because they are really involved in innovation, because they get help and support and are integrated in such types of platforms. And as you can see, all members are integrated. I won't go through it through all of them, but you see there are associations, there is the government, which you can see here maybe, but there are government institutions if you go to the website, RTOs, companies, and basically all different types of actors, even associations of other sectors, in order to enrich these maybe a little traditional and not very much looking across silos construction sector. This is the ECTP. You can have a look at their website as well if you want to do. You see, they also have some Irish members. Maybe some of you are members. But why I show this, because it's important to note that, for example, in Spain, the Spanish National Construction Technology Platform is as well a member of the ECTP, so they are linked. They provide another level, and we think these national technology platforms need to be integrated in the European platform as well. So I don't know how I'm doing in time, but I will spend some words on 2-3 more slides. If not, stop me, Jamie. So what we do as well in these projects, especially in Meta Building, we have come up with a platform that is actually the meeting point or the backbone of this EO-scale, or wants to be the meeting point of this EO-scale innovation ecosystem, where we provide different tools for helping innovation, access to funding, finding partners to do innovation support, and so on. And this platform also is the door opener, or the door to this world of testing and testing services and pilot sites. So behind here, this open innovation testbed is hiding, that is being developed in the Meta Building Labs projects. Although this platform is mostly focusing on innovation, it's not only focusing on innovation, but also has other features, like, for example, a marketplace, where you can access to international market players and promote your products, and actually also locate new markets. the platform is still under development, but in the very last phase. So beta testing is ready soon. If you feel like, I would be happy if you sign up, test, and have your say. And last but not least, once again, promotion for the call. The Grow and Harvest call will be opening up soon. There will also be actually a presentation in English. And so if you are an SME or want to support an SME, or just you're interested in seeing what this Grow and Harvest call is about, and what are the challenges we want the companies to respond to, which are really focusing on the topics PJ was also mentioning. This would be also the chance to go there and have a look. Thank you very much for your attention, and thanks for hosting me again.
Thanks very much. It's great to see that ecosystem in France and how you're trying to map it together, and then both not just nationally, but understanding the regional importance of things, and then going regional, national, but then the importance of the international. So you need to get it right at the regional level, but also take advantage at the international links as well there. So very good. Okay, so we might move on to our next presentation. So just to remind people to put in your questions and answers into the Q&A box on Zoom there, and we'll put them towards the speakers at the end. So our third speaker tonight is Dr. Tomas Flanagan. So Tomas is CEO of Air Composites, who are an innovative design, manufacturing and testing company involved in lightweight, high performance, fiber reinforced composite materials. They have an international customer base. They're based out of Connemara here in Galway, but they have an international customer base across space, aerospace, renewable energy and industrial composites. Tomas is, before he joined Air Composites, he was an engineer with BP, and he holds a PhD in engineering management from the University of Cambridge. We're very fortunate in the SFI Marai Centre in Inyo Galway to have such an innovative company as a strategic research partner, but also an employee of our students and graduates locally here in Galway. It's been mentioned there a few times, mentioned by both PJ and Claudia, the importance of SMEs to our ecosystem, to the Irish economy, and especially to remote parts of the country like Gaeltacht Connemara here in Galway. So Tomas is going to discuss how Air Composites are developing innovation and new skills by partnering with third level institutions and international partners in R&D projects. So over to you, Tomas.
Hi, everyone. I'll try and be fairly quick. I'm going to talk about Air Composites and just how we're trying to support the economy through enterprise innovation and through skills. So just the company is involved in a number of sectors, so mainly aerospace, but also a lot of research and development on renewables, a little bit on marine as well. We've got a lot of equipment. We've got 16-meter oven. We've got 2 large autoclaves. We've got a 6-meter CNC machine and a large clean room, and we're building another one. And we have a lot of equipment as well for testing composite materials. On the aerospace side, we make parts for the Bombardier Global series and for the A220, which used to be the Bombardier C series. We've been making commercial parts since 2008, and we also make some parts for Safran and for the European Space Agency. The parts that we make for aerospace are mainly skins, so there'd be a honeycomb structure inside and carbon fiber on the outside. We also make ribs and access panels and shrouds, and we've made some other parts as well for the A400M. Picture on the right is it's about a 6-meter long section by about 1.5 meters, 2 meters high, and it's a rudder for Bombardier Global. Then on the renewable energy, we do a lot on wind, but also on marine, so wave and tidal. So the picture on the right is the ORPC RivGen device, which we built the blades for. So if you look at the picture in the back, the blades are in black, and the green struts, we made those as well. And that was installed and successfully operated in Alaska for 2 years. I'll come back to that a little bit more later on. On wind energy, we had 2 large projects on trying to make large wind blades. One was Horizon 2020 powder blade project, and we're looking at innovative techniques for manufacturing large blades from 60 to 100 meters. And then also more recently, we're looking at leading edge erosion protection through the Leap Wind project. And as at the end of that, we tested it on some of our blades in Shetland. The picture you see on the right is in Antarctica, and all of those blades were made by Air Composites. Then on marine energy, so the Rodden device I showed a little bit earlier on, we currently have a project together with INUIG and ORPC and Mitsubishi Chemicals Advanced Materials and CNR, who are an Italian research institute, to make the next generation of that. And we're looking at trying to use recycled materials and trying to come up with better ways to bond the brackets onto the struts and to increase the efficiency and the circularity of the device. On the right-hand side, we were part of a project called Flowtech, which was a 10 million euro project, and we were developing blades for that project. The blades were about 8 meters and were successfully tested at INUIG, which was the biggest test load that ever been applied to a tidal turbine blade. So then we also do a lot of other R&D on aerospace and on materials as well. So we've been working with a company called Mana on drones. So it's a picture on the right. In Oranmore, we make part of the structure for the airframe, and we have a new project called My Drone, which aims to develop a thermoplastic drone airframe. On the bottom, you've got a picture of a test on a propeller that was 3D printed at INUIG for the Mana drone, so based on Mana drone design. And that's been tested in Air Composites Test Lab CTL. We've also done a lot of work on automated tape placement with the University of Limerick. And we've done work in welding of composites, which is pretty novel. It only really works for thermoplastics, but you can weld thermoplastics to metals and to other things. And that's probably a technology for the future because it's automated in high volume. So we've been working for about 15 years with the European Space Agency on their future launchers. And we're currently got our first commercial project for space, which was part of the Altius mission to make the Stray-like baffles. So Altius was originally planned for launch in 2023, but it's been deferred to 2025. It's the first time that a Gwilt company will be making a part for space. And it's also a pretty big part. They're about 60 centimeters long, made from carbon fiber, and they filter the light that's going into the optical instruments and improve the quality of the images. So then, I suppose back to the title for tonight. In order to have a strong economy, we believe that there needs to be innovation. There's a lot of innovation at Air Composites, and we believe that the innovation gives us a competitive advantage, and that's reflected by our customers. Then there's a part about enterprise. It's good fun innovating, but you have to sell it as well. So it's trying to get the innovations to market, and not all of them get there. And sometimes good technologies don't get to market. Sometimes not so good technologies do if the sales teams are strong enough. And it's trying to find the right balance between developing a lot of innovative technologies and then making money by selling what you have and reusing the same ideas again in different contexts. And we've been very fortunate. We have a good team. It's about 60 people, and we have very strong links with the universities, which has helped us to develop good skills in the work that we do with composites. So with the right team, you can do almost anything. And we think that that's kind of the spirit that we have with the Altius project. where we come up with a slogan, Cambio Contussi, so a small step forward. These are some of the research partners that we work with. It's not all of them, and it's changing all the time as we join new projects and complete some of the older ones, but it's a good portfolio of some kind of well-respected companies throughout Europe. And that's it from me. So thank you. And if you have questions at the end, please go ahead.
Thanks, Tomas. That's very good. A very innovative company working using fiber reinforced composite structures, going from the deep blue sea to the outer space, so and everything in between. So it's pretty impressive. So we'll go on to our fourth speaker, and then we'll take, as I said, we'll take the questions afterwards and just put the questions into the Q&A box. So our fourth speaker is Alec Mcallister. So Alec is Associate Director of Advocacy and Engagement at Engineers Ireland, and he's also a member of the governing body of Dundalk Institute of Technology. He's worked in communications and public affairs with various membership organisations, public representation, state bodies and commercial enterprises. Specialist experience in current affairs, technology and engineering. So he's now going to present findings from studies done by Engineers Ireland on skills and innovation requirements of engineering graduates. So over to you, Alec.
The area I'm going to talk about is on the engineering skills that are needed for all of this fantastic work that's been was described by the three earlier speakers. I suppose it's a recurring topic, and it's one we talk about all the time. Where are we going to pull our engineers from? I've got it. You'll be happy to hear. It's quite a short presentation on just, I suppose, just kind of talking points on it. So I'd say, yeah, I just want to kind of go through I suppose, what the headlines are on what we need to be looking for in terms of engineering skills, what the challenges are there, where the particular pinch points are. In all the presentation so far, we were talking about digitalization, so we kind of need to get, certainly a big pinch point is on the skills that we need there. You don't necessarily need everybody to become a master programmer, but we kind of need that crossover training as well. So when I was putting this together, the group I went back to was the expert group on future skills needs, who, as the name would suggest, have done a lot of work in this area over the last, I think it's 25 years now since the group was formed. It's a cross-departmental, government departmental group that brings in expertise also from state agencies like Enterprise Ireland and the HEA and Solus, and also brings in expertise from academia and from business and from trade union groups as well. I think Engineers Ireland has had members on it previously. We don't at the moment, and it's actually probably something that I'd like to see corrected for the future. I think it'd be a useful place for us to be, and I think our voice would be a very strong addition to it. They put out a lot of material, so I wasn't going to start bombarding you with all of it. But what I pulled out was the common themes from their last kind of overall report. Actually, their most recent report was on the skills needs for reaching zero carbon. And Tomas, you'd be delighted to hear that engineers were described as being a crucial profession to the design, the manufacture and the successful introduction of projects for wind and solar energy. So our profession is really recognised as being critical in all these areas. So just looking at the common themes, and again, these would resonate with what the earlier speakers have said. The need to align education and training provision with industry's requirements. Need to clearly communicate and promote career opportunities through engagement with school guidance counsellors. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. I have a slide up on STEM and how to encourage take up of STEM subjects. I mentioned already about the kind of need for cross training and I suppose continual retraining. So the need to provide upskilling, continuing professional development programs for employees is a huge issue. And especially when it comes to digitalization, there's kind of two ends to that. We need our engineers to be familiar with digitalization and to be taking advantage of it. And a lot of them are, in fairness. Don't need to become master programmers. But equally on the tech sector, we need our techies and our programmers to become more familiar with the language of engineering as well, so that we really kind of get that cross-fertilization. There's a phrase going around in education now called micro-credentials, which I think is very useful for these type of programs, where you don't need to get, someone doesn't need to become expert on it, but you might just need that little bit of training to get the max out of it. The need for standardized work placements, internship, traineeship, apprenticeship, put your own term on it, it'll depend on the type of work you're in. That is still really, really important. And we've been, well, PJ mentioned earlier, we're kind of losing some of the numbers that we need on the traditional trades. Now, I know some of those wet trades, we're using less of them anyways, as PJ said. But we also need to have a wider view on what an apprenticeship is. We are making progress in that. And there's a big difference, even in the last 10 years, on what people would have a concept of as an apprenticeship. Ireland was quite far behind on this. We traditionally thought about as apprentices as being carpenters, brickies, plumbers. Whereas, in Germany, you could become a master engineer right up to level 9 through a traineeship or an apprenticeship program. We are slowly starting to move into that area, and it's great to see that. The last one as well is need to ensure the workforce has strong transversal skills, and I put in that one a bit, including digital skills. They're obviously not the only transversal skills. I think it's really, really important. Just on the digital skills shortage, on the ICT skills shortage, it's quite frightening in some ways, but also quite exhilarating as well to think about how dominant Ireland is. We really are a digital hub in Europe. But actually, these stats that I have here, they're already out of date. These are a couple of years old. All the top 10 born on the internet companies have their EU HQs in Ireland, and we have 9 out of 10 of the top global software, 9 out of the top of the top US companies here. And our digital sector, employs up, actually, you could probably say over 250,000 people now, and accounts for 13% of Ireland's GDP. Ireland, almost uniquely in Europe, our economy didn't crash during, never went into recession even during the worst of the shutdown and COVID. And a lot of that was due to, pretty hefty corporate tax income. That was keeping the country afloat. So a lot of that was coming from our tech sector and from our pharmaceutical sector as well, and our medtech sector. And obviously, of course, huge engineering input also on our medtech sector. And indeed on our pharmaceutical as well, a lot of process engineers working there. Our friends in the expert group on future skill needs, and this again is a very, very conservative estimate. They're talking about 8,000 new job openings per annum, and over 800,000 across the EU of a shortfall. I know this isn't, a lot of our members aren't directly working in IT, but that shortage affects all of us. Because we need, as I said, we need that crossover between I suppose, if you like, the more traditional engineering roles in civil, mechanical, electronic, and the IT sector. And the whole area of digitalization, like every company, whether you're an engineering company, whether you're a retail company, every company now is becoming a digital company. And if you're not, you're either soon going to become one, or you're soon going to go out of business. That's the reality. Digitalization is no longer something to be kind of talked about as an abstract topic. It's something you're either doing it now, or you better be doing it pretty soon. So as I said, we do need that crossover. if I just move on now, you know, so how do we fill these roles? You know, where are we going to get our supply from? Because we have our pinch point, you know, IT is a particular pinch point, but we have a shortage in terms where, you know, the more traditional engineering roles as well. One of the earliest tasks I had when I actually rejoined Engineers Ireland, because this is my second spin. I was with Engineers Ireland 10 years ago as the third level liaison. But I rejoined in January, and one of the first things I had to do was put together a submission on the department's STEM implementation plan for 2019 to 2025. So they're at different stages of it. As you could understand, COVID has blocked some of the work that was going on here, but a lot of good work has happened, and these were I suppose the key points of the submissions that we made. That we need more, and this would tie back in with what we were talking about earlier on the first slide with the expert groups findings. So we need those real world applications of STEM, that to be strongly encouraged in student learning and assessment. You know, and to do that, we all have a responsibility as members, as business organisations, to kind of reach out to schools ourselves and to educational centres to try and provide those examples and applications. We need to give them to the teachers. We need to give the ammunition to the teachers, give the material to the teachers. And we actually need to kind of get in at the point where teachers are trained themselves, where they form, where their profession is formed. You know, so it should be part of their initial training, it should be part of their ongoing CPD. You know, no more than anyone, you know, teachers need to be kept up to speed on this. We saw, you know, during COVID, some teachers did, well, actually the vast majority of teachers did brilliantly. But when the transition to online learning, online teaching happened, some teachers were really struggling. Other teachers took to it like a duck to water and helped their colleagues along. So kind of, for me, highlighted how some teachers aren't anyway up to date, even with kind of, you know, everyday technology. So if they're not up to date with it, how are they going to give their students an appreciation of it? So I think we do need to get much stronger on that space, both on the initial training and on CPD. Need to continue to highlight the career options of engineering students at primary and secondary level. We've been doing that for a number of years. We were doing it when I was back with Engineers Ireland 10 years ago, but I mean, that is a message we need to keep hammering out. And you're looking to reach three audiences, really. You're looking to reach the kids themselves, you're looking to reach the teachers, the educators, and you're looking to reach the parents. In terms of diversity and that, I was kind of sorry to see that the percentages for girls that are taking up engineering haven't improved greatly since I was with Engineers Ireland 10 years ago. So we really need to continue to strongly encourage girls to continue STEM subjects towards their leaving cert, so that they're in place then to take on those engineering programs. And we need to increase the visibility of engineering role models, especially female role models. One piece of work I'm doing at the moment is the latest iteration of the barometer report, and I was threatening the designers with death if they, no disrespect to our traditional construction and civil engineers, but I said I don't want to see too many pictures of hard hats. We want to show the variety of engineering roles that are out there, that you don't have to be, 6'5" and able to carry a joist on your shoulder to be an engineer. Those days are long gone if you were ever there. I suppose to continue supporting the creation of hands-on teaching resources. with industry. So we were talking about that as well, that, you know, that those links with industry that need to be put in. There are other ways as well of increasing the skills pool. Obviously, we want to try and educate more, you know, have more homegrown engineers and tech people through educating them. But we can also bring them in as well, and we have been bringing them in. And it's great to see. It's great to see that diversity and that mix that's going on, and our ability to increase talent from abroad. But we, you know, there's a couple of things that we need to kind of shout about. They're not necessarily engineering issues, but we need to shout about it a little bit. And the visa and work permit application process is quite messy. It shouldn't be. It should be working much better than it is. But sometimes they put enough people in there to resource it, and then it kind of falls back again, and it starts getting very messy again. And it's actually becoming a reputational issue for Ireland, so we need to be careful with that. There's a project called Tech Life Ireland, which is fantastic, and the second phase, the idea of it was to facilitate engineering and tech talent coming into Ireland, to attract them in first of all, and to help them with that transition process. And the second phase was put on ice during COVID. We'd love to see that second phase being implemented. It basically makes locating in Ireland as frictionless as possible, especially for people who are bringing families with them. Their partners may be coming with them who may be qualified in other areas. How do you get access to the education system? How do you get your kids into school? How do you access the, you know, all those questions that people coming in would have, and to make life a little bit easier for them. It's a very good project. It doesn't cost an awful lot of money, so we'd love to see that back up and running again. The obvious one as well, we need to increase the number of places available in higher education, and to provide alternative pathways into the tech sector. So again, we're talking about, you know, looking at, you know, less traditional paths like apprenticeships, you know, because college doesn't suit every kid, you know. So we shouldn't be trying to shoehorn everybody into something that, you know, doesn't necessarily fit them, and we could end up losing some very good talent by trying to shoehorn people in. I suppose to sum up what I kind of wanted to say across all those slides is the importance of facilitating digitalization across our incoming workforce and our existing workforce. If you look at international scales on where Ireland is doing in Europe on digitalization, we're doing quite well. But if you look behind those figures, they're skewed a little bit because, as I said in the earlier slide, we've got all these huge tech companies in Ireland. They're skewing the figures a little bit. PJ mentioned earlier about the need to support our SMEs. There is a real danger that a lot of our SMEs could be falling behind on digital and digitalization. So I know I'm repeating myself a little bit here, but there is a danger there, and we do need to get in and support them.